The American dream just isn't what we thought it would be, was it? I grew up 60s, 70s, 80s, and the whole thing was get a good job, get married, buy a house, have a few kids, a nice car, maybe two nice cars, work until you retire, and then enjoy retirement. Unfortunately, that wasn't quite specific enough. Now, to be fair, I wasn't raised in a generation where they talked about money. Kids nowadays, or young adults nowadays, have access to more information about that than what we had. So for 46 years, I've been in the workforce, and I've always chased that American dream. And what I've come to realize over the last couple of years is that's not the American dream. The American dream is to live free. That's what we should aspire to. We have become a society of consumerism. We buy, disposable this, disposable that, nothing lasts. So we're wasting money on things that we really shouldn't be. We should be wasting our time on experiences and doing the things that we want to do and traveling, all the stuff that everyone says, oh, well, when I retire, I'm going to do this. You need to be doing this now because nothing's guaranteed. And I'm going to give you a real world example. My brother was 6 months from retiring, had everything lined up, bought a boat so he could go fishing on the lake, got a pickup truck. I mean, life was good. He had everything set up. 6 months before retirement, boom, dead. Didn't get to enjoy any of it. So, what was all the planning for? And I think a lot of people fall into that trap is like, well, I'm going to plan for retirement. I'm going to put all this money in 401k. And not that that's a bad thing, but you need to look at what you're putting in there versus what you're saving and what you're investing and what your investment vehicles are to allow you to live a life that's not owned by all these possessions that you can go out and buy. And let's face it, all the advertising, all they do is target you with, radio, TV, the internet, everywhere. Oh, buy this and you'll be beautiful. Buy that and you'll be popular. Buy this to show your status. And people get sucked into that, and it becomes this vicious cycle because at some point you are going to have buyer's remorse for whatever it was you bought. It could be a house, it could be a car, a jet ski, whatever it is. At some point you're going to go, wish I hadn't bought that, because yeah, you'll use it at first and it'll be great, and then as time wears on you get tired of it, it sits there, you use it occasionally, and then you get to the point you don't use it at all. We had bought a house that had an in-ground pool. We're like, oh, fantastic, we've got teenage boys, we can keep them occupied, their friends can come over here, we'll use it. Yeah, that lasted about 1.5 seasons, and then it just sat there. So we sold the house to somebody who had younger kids that can enjoy it. There was no point in us putting all the expense into it when nobody was using it. I think the last year we owned the house, somebody used it maybe twice out of the whole season. Just wasn't worth it. And I think we get caught into these traps because we're trying to impress people that we don't need to impress, whether it's family, friends, it doesn't matter. You need to impress yourself. You need to do what's good for you and don't worry about what other people think or feel or whatever. You need to be happy in your own life. And I think that's why the divorce rate is so high, because people get married with this vision, and at some point one party or the other isn't happy anymore because their life isn't fulfilling, because all you do is work, eat, and sleep. You probably spend as much or more time at work than you do at home, and it erodes that relationship. So if you want a fulfilling relationship, then you need to have experiences together. And I think a lot of this social media has played a role in a lot of this, because we see these influencers and they're driving Lamborghinis and Mercedes and whatever, and these big fancy houses. But the reality of it is 90% of them aren't doing that. It's all fake. You see all these people smiling and care, oh, my life is so good and happy. And when the camera turns off, they're miserable because they're, butthole deep in debt and don't know how to dig their way out of it. I remember doing work years ago in this one community that the houses started at $1 million. All $1 million plus houses in this whole development. So I go to this one house and there's a brand new Porsche, a brand new Mercedes, and they got a boat in a driveway. And I go in the house and they're sitting on lawn furniture and eating off a card table. They were so deep in debt they couldn't even afford furnishings to furnish this $1 million plus house. That's no way to live. And you just can't, you can't debt your way into a good life, because what happens is you constantly feed that cycle, and eventually you're going to get to the point where you can't retire because you have so much debt. Credit cards are the worst debt you can have. Get rid of them. I don't care how you do it. Get rid of them. And if you're going to use one, pay it off at the end of the month, or do like I do. I pay mine off every week. Every Monday I go in, gone. I don't have to worry about it. I've been doing that for years. Just don't get sucked into this whole nonsense of consumerism and this American dream that we've been sold, because that's not the American dream. The American dream was to have land and a house and live free. And I'm going to tell you what, with all the easy credit that's available now, it has some eerie echoes to the stock market crash of 1929. It's almost verbatim the same scenario. Credit was easy to get. People were buying on credit constantly without being able to pay it back, and eventually it just overwhelmed the system. And I can see that coming. I called it out in 2008 when the housing market crashed, because I knew there was no way the market could sustain the prices that they were charging for houses. And we're coming full circle. The only difference is you don't have the subprimes this time, but you're starting to see defaults on credit cards, defaults on auto loans, and foreclosures climbing steadily. And it's only a matter of time now before it all just dumps. And speaking of that, when this is going to happen is going to be controlled by when AI finally goes mainstream. Right now, it's just a toy that people play with. Yeah, you got some businesses that use it for, papers and emails, that sort of thing. But when AI gets into its next generation, you're going to see a lot of these jobs that people use a computer for is going to be taken over by AI, especially coding jobs, because AI is going to learn how to code, and that'll be the end of that. So if you're elbow deep in debt right now, I suggest you get out of it. And, if the best thing you can do is get yourself a house that you can afford on minimum wage. And don't worry about where it's located. Find the cheap house that you can find, because if you have a house that you can afford on minimum wage, I'm sure there's a job in the area that you can find. Too many people get stuck on, I got to live in this place. I got to live at the beach. I got to live here. I got to live there. You need to live where you can afford to live. And if that means you uproot your family and you move halfway across the country to be able to afford to live, then you need to do it. Because I'm here to tell you that we're only a couple years away from this whole thing just imploding. And the people who are deep in debt are going to lose everything. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to be one of them. So let me know what you think about this. Am I on the right target? Am I seeing things correctly? Am I talking the right language? Do you see a way out of debt where you can live a meaningful life without having to be bogged down with material possessions? Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.